Stupidity, a spiritual perspective. Hello, I'm Mari Swaruu. Thank you for being here with me once more. Today I'd like to share with you some thoughts about stupidity in general, and why everyone can act in a stupid manner at one point or another. What I'm going to say next is in no way all the explanation to why people act that way. There are probably countless factors that cause stupidity and I can't enumerate them all. Perhaps nobody can, as it is an extremely complicated subject, and we are dealing with psychology and biology, and neither of those two are exact sciences. This is the result of a chain of thoughts about this subject I was having yesterday, when I was asking myself why people act many times in a brainless and stupid manner, regardless of their overall level of intelligence. What I mean is that everyone is prone to act in that manner whenever certain circumstances arise, regardless of their real cognitive efficiency, age, and level of education, and those circumstances would be particular to each person, at least mostly, each one having a previous set of psychological triggers that propitiate the person to act in a stupid manner. And those triggers would have to be developed during the course of each person's life, and even can be brought into the present lifetime from trauma and experiences from past lifetimes as well, so no two persons would share the same psychological triggers that propitiate it to act in a stupid manner. And before I'm misunderstood, I'm not only talking about human stupidity, I'm talking about stupidity in general, regardless of what species we are talking about. Logically including the members of all the stellar races we can think of. These are also thoughts about why can someone be very smart, or intelligent, and act like so, to then suddenly act in a stupid manner for no apparent reason. First, it would only be logical to define exactly what stupidity is, and it may not be so easy to define precisely because of its psychological nature. But what I have found is that the most commonly used definition is the following, although I find it to be quite simple and falling into reductionism. A stupid person can be defined as someone who acts in their own detriment, also harming others in any way or fashion, for no apparent logical reason and not gaining any personal benefit either from doing so. The definition continues to define other related behaviors as following. A person that acts in detriment to others but gains any kind of personal benefit is a bully. A person that acts in such a way that benefits him, or herself, and also benefits others is a smart person. And a person that acts in personal detriment in order to benefit others is a people pleaser. That's the end of the definition I'm using as a base concept, and it is not mine, I'm only using it as a reference. But note that the last line, where someone that acts in detriment to him or herself in order to benefit others, can be linked to what I explained in one of my past videos, where I was explaining why on Earth, a purely service to others mentality ends up being a kind of slavery. Especially when involving star seeds and people that have incarnated there, having the cultural mentality of a full non-human stellar holistic society, where there is a true service to others mentality that does not generate any kind of slavery, because everyone has the other people's interests in mind. As I've come to realize, anyone who wishes to help others in any way or manner, must first have a personal base frame and stability, in order from where to be able to help others, or else the helping person would end up exhausting his, or her personal resources, being them material things, or of a mental nature. With the subsequent result, the helping person will be affected negatively, and will not be able to continue to help either. So, it is taught by so many so-called experts on Earth, that what humankind needs is a service to others mentality, and objectively it is so, but in my personal opinion it cannot work unless, at least, the vast majority of the population is acting like so. Because if you mix them, as in some are acting with a service to others mentality and others are in a survival, or agreed, service to self mode, the first will end up being the slaves of the latter. So for the moment, on earth, service to others should be observed and followed by those people who are spiritually advanced enough to realize all this, but without disregarding their personal needs first, being that it is them who must always be in total control of how much of anything they can, or must give, and to who. Coming back to studying stupidity closely, I've noticed that it is thought of as being the result of pure ignorance, but if you notice a purely ignorant person that is also humble and with a good learning attitude, that would not be stupidity, that would only be a point in that person's learning curve and experimental evolution. As I've come to conclude, stupidity is more the result of having some level of knowledge, and then holding on to the idea that he or she already knows enough about any subject or situation, lacking the flexibility and the humbleness to accept that there is a lot more to learn about it. That holding on to the idea that he or she knows enough about any situation or subject would also mean the rejection of alternative ideas and actions his or her peers may want to contribute. And this can only be explained by one word: ego. Although the word ego, as translated from Latin, is simply I, as in me, nowadays it is mostly used as a word that describes a person that has an inflated feeling of pride and superiority to others. I'm not saying that ego is the sole cause of all stupidity, but I'm quite sure there is a big element of it working there, especially when involving people who are known to be of a decent, high level of intelligence. And this last factor may also contribute to the problem of why that intelligent person may be acting in a stupid manner, as the person wrongly assumes that, knowing him, or herself to be intelligent, all the subsequent decisions would also be intelligent and smart, because that person is also assuming that he or she knows everything there is to know about any given subject at hand. Then we have another added element, the necessity of the person to constantly validate itself and its actions or words, developing attachments to concepts and ideas that have been adopted by said person, and those attachments are there because the person thinks that they define who he or she is. Therefore, for that person, an attack or an invalidation against any one of those concepts or ideas the subject holds dear is translated as being an attack against the subject's persona. In simpler words, attacking one or another concept or idea is taken in a personal manner, so the subject will do anything to defend the idea in question with the sole purpose of winning the argument, and not finding out if the concept or idea is really valid or not. The subject's ego blinds his or her capacity to be reasonable and intelligent. And if those concepts and ideas have been developed through a lot of time, dedication, and work, the person will develop even more attachments, having to force any situation to conform and adapt to those pet concepts, without being able to see and understand other points of view and other factors, therefore probably acting stupidly, and in detriment of itself and of others. This would be the case of theses, especially scientific ones, where the author wrongly assumes that he or she knows enough about what it is being talked about, because the individual is coming from a place of authority, as the person is holding a PhD degree, for example. But in general, sooner or later everyone will encounter a situation where the concepts a person holds dear may be perceived to be under attack or under scrutiny, and if the individual's level of attachment to those concepts is high enough, then that individual would choose to defend the validity of those pet concepts, even over personal benefit, let alone over the benefit of others, causing the subject to act in a stupid manner, affecting everyone involved. All this regardless if the arguments against the individual's concepts and ideas are valid or not. This would not be a logical behavior, and here the individual would clearly be prioritizing immediate emotional responses over a convenient outcome, even in the benefit of the individual itself. This would then mean that the current state of mind and the emotional stability of the individual play a major role as a trigger for anyone to act in a stupid manner. This then is yet another reason to try to always keep a cool head, to pause and think before acting, or before saying anything, especially during difficult situations. And this is also another reason not to be attached to any concepts or ideas, and always be willing to change them, to replace them whenever a better one appears. The person's willingness to be humble regardless of who the individual perceives him or herself to be, including level of education and assumed intelligence, is key to reduce the probability of acting stupidly in any situation. But then it looks like being humble, never assuming we know enough about anything, controlling and letting the ego go, not attaching oneself to personal attributes and identities, like who we are supposed to be in our current physical avatars, and being in an observer mode, very much as Zen masters do, is the best way to be able to act in an intelligent manner as much as possible, especially when confronted by life's everyday challenges. And this would be one of the greatest practical gifts of following a spiritual path throughout life. And one of the best tools to achieve this is meditation, as it calms the mind and helps us know that we are not who is having all those thoughts, we are the consciousness behind, observing what the mind does, not taking that as coming from who we truly are. There are many other factors that contribute to the reasons why a person would act in a stupid manner, for example people who do have a truly low mental capacity, although there is much to be said and explained about the reasons for being that way, and also the influence of entities that implant thoughts into our heads in order to influence our actions in their benefit. In that case, our personal vibration and frequency is what determines with which entities we will be a match to, either with lower astral thugs, or with light beings, or with our spirit guides. And that would be yet another benefit of following a spiritual path. All this brings me to a powerful conclusion. Enlightenment breeds the wise, and it is the antidote to stupidity. Thank you for being here with me, and for watching my video. Take care, you beautiful souls out there. I love you all. Your friend, Mari Swaruu.